we good? Looks like we're okay. So, welcome back to Umineko. I still want to try to figure out a better spot for the text here, but yeah. Let's go. Here. Give me just a sec, try and fine tune this a little. Oh, never mind. Go with that. Okay. Erica's about to say clever for something? She can't do that. That's physically impossible for her. Alright, so Alright, let's go. Yeah, so we left off right after the big ol' Kenan and Shannon and George and Jessica having to go through the demonic trial of the two demons. I think they were demons, yeah. I forget their names. But they were going through that, and they were having to... One of them would succeed because there's only one golden brooch and only enough magic power for them. Oh, yeah, and Beatrice, Beato, and Battler as well, though Battler wasn't actually there. And that whole thing. I'm still not entirely sure why that's happening. Why it has to be that way. It's odd. Anyway, I guess we're here, back to the guest room with Erica and others, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, let's find out. Erica had returned to the room that had been given to her on the second floor of the guest house. The next room over was empty. It was very quiet there. Even pressing her ear against the wall wouldn't help her listen in on the voices in the cousin room. Even with hearing power boosted by the detective's authority, it would probably be impossible to make out anything. Boosted hearing because of the detective's authority. Yep, she's definitely a cheater. Cheater. Pumpkin eater. This room was the farthest down the hall, a long way away from the cousin room. And last time, my room was right next to theirs. I see. So I just placed my room farther away this time. Eleanor, such a modification to the initial arrangement is well covered by the authority given to the game master. It would seem to be quite a reasonable first move. Well, it's better for me that way too. Like I'd want to hear those brat squeaky voices as they play cards. I liked Eleanor. This whole time, Erica had been facing the desk and working on something. She was preparing some of those packing tape seals from before. She had asked Kumasawa for the stickiest tape in the place. She drew a complicated signature that could not be counterfeited across it with a permanent marker, then began making notches across it. This way, if she ever wanted to prove that some opening had remained closed, she could stick this tape over it, creating a powerful seal equal in strength to the red truth. These menacing seals had cornered Natsuhi so thoroughly in the previous game. You right? They actually put in the sprite of her holding tape, huh? Is something wrong? He got me. That Battler doesn't let anything get by him, does he? Erica grimaced and showed the piece of packing tape she had torn off to Dillinor. At a glance, Dillinor couldn't tell what had annoyed Erica. However, as soon as she held it, she realized the difference right away. This won't be any good. Yep. It's barely sticky at all. This won't reach even close to the red truth. Even packing tape can be of low quality, and it sometimes gets weaker with age. There could be. I don't have one. If you find one, I'll toss it up somewhere. Even packing tape can be of low quality, and it sometimes gets weaker with age. The tape Kumasawa had found was a bit too weak, even for normal use. It wasn't nearly sticky enough to be used as the detective's seal. It is possible to tear it off cleanly. This cannot count as proof of a seal. I guess Battler isn't as totally incompetent as I thought. He probably tampered with all the packing tape on the island using the authority of the Game Master. Hey, we're talking about tape, man. What do you think about that? Letting Erica get her hands on packing tape gave her a fatal weapon to use against witches. The previous game had proven this fact. And so, Battler had removed that weapon from the entire mansion. Most likely, all possible substitutes for packing tape have also been tampered with. Probably. Well, it isn't really so bad. At least this way I won't have to look like a fool crawling all over the outer wall in the cold rain. Erica tossed the packing tape aside carelessly and flop-spread the eagle onto the bed. Well, maybe we can do one of those, like, multi-tiered ones. Like, one hand with the tape, the other hand searching it, or something. Or, like, one in the middle with the tape spread across. Anyway, waiting calmly for the crime and smoking a pipe is also part of a detective's role. I doubt you'll have any role until the first twilight begins. Smoking a pipe is also part of the detective's role, huh? Why is it always a pipe? Maybe it makes them look significant or something. I doubt you'll have any role until the first twilight begins, so why not vanish off somewhere and take a break? I imagine that just the sight of my face is tiresome for you. I do not smoke. I am just a kid. Oh, really? I wish I could. Well, only if it really is as refreshing as smokers claim. It seems that you are not in high spirits. Does it look that way? Erica answered lazily, still looking up at the ceiling. That in itself was half an answer. The silence between the two was filled by the sound of the wind and rain. It was so quiet that the sound of the ticking clock rang out clearly. Lady Erica, may I ask a question? Depends on what it is. Answer's probably no, though. Well, we're just killing time, anyway. What is it? Maybe Erica was bored too. Or perhaps the sound of the rain was making her sentimental. She agreed to listen to Dillinor, which was very unlike her. Why? Why do you hate magic? Ah. You mean that thing downstairs with Maria? It was merely a foolish trick to deceive children. Everyone knew that. Was it really necessary to go so far to destroy that illusion? I cannot understand. Erica didn't need Dillinor to tell her that it had been a childish fight. Well, I am a self-proclaimed intellectual rapist. I can't stand having magic confuse the truth. So you feel pleasure from exposing that? I sense a different emotion. A different emotion? What's that? To me, it feels less like pleasure and more like a different, negative emotion. You really are a murder doll, aren't you? Even your eyes are like knotholes. My apologies. Please forgive me. Erica rolled over grumpily, turning her back to Dillonor. So, Dillonor could see her expression. Even so, for some reason she could guess that this completely unobserved expression was one of pain. Interpreting this to mean that Erica wanted her to go away, Dillonor gave a bow and made to leave. Then, Erica suddenly spoke. The words seemed so utterly out of place that Dillonor doubted her ears, and she had asked Erica to say it again. What did you say? I love you. It really did seem utterly out of place. Dillonor wanted to see what Erica really meant, but the latter still had her back turned and her face was out of sight. Thank you very much. I was going out with someone else a while back, but we've completely broken up. You were going out with somebody? Who? The others might say things out of envy, but please ignore them. I'm going to devote my whole life to you, so I want you to do the same for me. Let's find happiness together. Dillonor avoided asking what she was talking about, and stood there in silence. For a while, Erica kept on dully and emotionlessly repeating soppy phrases that might have popped up in some shoujo manga. Then, unexpectedly, she once again followed up with a complete non sequitur. A new wallet. Of course, she had no idea what Erica was saying. However, with her back still to Dillonor, Erica kept on saying disconnected words. A strange cat keychain. A type of cologne that didn't suit him. A music tape that's not his style, which he said he borrowed from a senior at the theater. His senior was asking, so he had to go. He suddenly got a new part-time job. He said he was talking with a friend on the phone who just wouldn't hang up. Made too much curry. Went to theater practice more often. The way he folds paper towels. Thanks, I've already eaten. He knew more about cosmetics. Sorry, I was sleeping. The toilet seat was left down. He spent the night over at his stage friend's place. My acting friends had a party here earlier. Someone must have left it behind. The drain and sink were cleaned out. Receipts and point cards from places he never goes. The muddy soles are evidence that you went out on Sunday when it was raining. That matches the strange symbol on the calendar. None of your theater friends have hair this long. That's a leading question. How do you know the plot of a movie you haven't seen yet? Evidence, circumstantial evidence, observation, surveillance, tracking, tailing, information gathering, wiretapping, asking around, questioning. I found tons of evidence that I loved you. I found tons of evidence that you loved me. But I can't find any evidence that you haven't been cheating on me. Give it a rest. If you love me, then trust me. If you can't do that, then you don't love me anymore. Yep. How could I love someone like that? I'll treasure you for all my life, and I want to do well in theater just as much. You said you liked seeing me act, right? So why are you telling me to stop acting now? Why do I have to choose between you and acting? What's wrong with you? I'm seriously worn out, okay? Come on, if all we do is fight when we see each other, maybe we both need some time to cool off, okay? I need to concentrate for my next performance anyway. This girl working with Senpai suddenly said she wouldn't be able to perform. I need to rewrite the script by tomorrow. I don't have time for this. And anyway, if you really find it that hard to trust me, we're through. Stay away, just go home, bitch. I don't love you anymore. Don't cry, damn it. It's disgusting. Just die. Stop shouting, damn it. You're annoying the neighborhood. Just get the hell away from me and never come back. Without love, it cannot be seen. That's backwards. Because of love, you end up seeing things that don't even exist. It's nothing more than an illusion, one that no one but you can see, and one that even you can never touch. Without love, humans would never need to sift through truth and lies. Because we can see things like that, we doubt, we suffer, we cry out loud. Right now, I'm happy. Though it may be temporary, I've become the Witch of Truth. As I am now, I no longer need to worry about being tormented by non-red words. What about you? How would you have countered my endgame? How would I? That useless man couldn't have played the part of my opponent in that game. I was wondering how you would have countered it. Dilliner was suddenly thrust into the position of Erika's opponent. In the witch's game, she had once challenged that man too. Dilliner shared in the fragments of Erika's past and was made to grasp the full situation. The board was reproduced in full inside their heads. The situation was one-sided. Erika's side had constructed a blue truth based on countless bits of circumstantial evidence, had turned all of those into pieces, and was already cornering the opponent. For some time, Dilliner thought in silence. It announced her by-the-book response. First move. I demand that you provide evidence that I have been cheating. Counter with blue truth. I present 84 points of circumstantial and physical evidence. Counter with the blue truth. I present 6 points of circumstantial and physical evidence that I still love you. Gutto? Blue and blue cancel each other out, but the number of pieces used to construct each is overwhelmingly unbalanced. When both opponents meet with the blue truth, the decision is almost always based on which side has more pieces of evidence, regardless of the actual circumstances. This is especially true in the human world. So by the standard rules, Erika would win. First point to me. Your next move? I will attempt to switch offense and defense. I ask that you, Lady Erika, provide proof that you are not cheating. Perpetual check. That's a forbidden move since it would result in an endless repetition of the same question going both ways. Then I frankly declare that, despite the lack of proof, I still love Lady Erika even now. That's not red truth, so it's invalid. Even if it was red, that'd be a stalemate. After all, I'd have no move to counter with. Dilliner remained silent for a while. Then, She quietly responded to Erika's moves until they reached checkmate. A stalemate is a forbidden move in the game of witches, since it means the ruin of the game. However, in chess, it also represents a draw. Because of this, it's a splendid final move that a weaker player can pull off if they're unable to win outright. In this situation, Erika clearly had the advantage. So, it was natural that Dillner would seek a stalemate to obtain a tie. However, that would only be the case in chess. In the game where witches fight over the truth, it's a forbidden move. So, it was already checkmate from the very beginning. Dillner had no way to turn the game around. However, regardless of the real truth between the pair of them had been, this game would be... Any other moves? Oh, witch-hunting archbishop, protector of the truth? No. I resign. See? There you go. Erika had succeeded in crushing her opponent with the truth she espoused, that her former boyfriend no longer loved her and was cheating on her. Her opponent had no way to argue back. After all, humans are not allowed to. A splendid game, a splendid finish from a superior position. Regardless of the truth of her opponent, Erika could win. A splendid victory. Dillner could only respond with silence, and with that, Erika spoke no more. She was probably done talking and wanted Dillner to leave. Dillner understood this, but even so, before leaving, she wanted to tell Erika one thing. A splendid game, Lady Erika. It's only natural that the detective wins. Even before you became Lady Berncastle's piece, you truly were a splendid wielder of the blue truth. However, Lady Erika, humans are only allowed to use the blue truth, and the only thing that can counter blue truth is red truth, and humans are not allowed to use the red truth. In that case, how should your opponent have shown his truth? Who knows? Maybe he should have used that gold truth or whatever, which is supposed to be stronger than the red truth at times. You certainly were the victor in that game. However, allow me to say this as a protector of the truth. What? I imagine it's something unpleasant, so say it and go away. Yes. This game is your victory. However, you still have not denied the 6 points of blue truth evidence I used to claim that I still love you. Even you are human. You cannot use red truth to deny those points. Later on, I used the detective's authority to have all 84 points transformed into red truth. By the power of my master. I am human, yet superior to humans. A detective and a witch. I am the Witch of Truth, Furudo Erika. Any other questions? Parting remarks? I have none. In that case, please excuse me. Dillner bowed and disappeared. After that, all that remained was the single Witch of Truth, laughing off a bitter past with an equally bitter smile. So yeah, that is entirely stereotypical of the, oh yeah, well, infinity plus one type of childish mindset. That, how do you beat that? Infinity plus two. Well yeah, infinity plus infinity. I can't beat that. It's just pointless. Judging by the bedside clock, it was almost exactly midnight. Okay, guess I should get a little sleep. The curtain is finally opened on the second day, October 5th. I wonder if this round's murders are happening somewhere about now. I hope our victims leave us something interesting. Dying messages this time. Will there even be any murders? This is Ballard we're talking about, so... He didn't want to believe anybody would do that. Why didn't you discuss this with your mother? This is about the partner who's supposed to support you throughout the rest of your life. That's right. She's the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. And that's why you need to choose very carefully, right? How can you be so rash? Eva and George could be seen beneath the eaves of the guest house. George had revealed his engagement with Shannon. Eva's anger had exploded almost instantly. This had been no more than George had expected, so he had responded with an ice-cold calm. Did you sleep with her? She told you she was pregnant to force you into marriage, didn't she? How rude. I'm a strong believer in preserving chastity before marriage. Then why an engagement? I asked her. She accepted. What more could be needed? No, it's all wrong. Marriage isn't as easy as it seems in manga or whatever you're thinking of. What about her parents? Relationships between the two families? Are you some stray alley cat? Or are you Urumia George? How could you be so rash now, when you might even be selected as grandfather's successor? Why don't you consult me? I'm consulting you right now. No, not consulting. I'm just reporting. I've never counted on being selected as grandfather's successor. In fact, I'd rather refuse it if it did come to that. I want to build up my own country and castle from the empty wilds, just like Father did. Now listen here. Do you realize how hard your father has worked to get here? That's not something you could duplicate just by imitating him. Do you understand how often he was saved by luck and coincidence before now? And he got through it, because he had a wonderful life partner by his side. You. Sayo is the kind of person who will support me and make me be reborn as an even stronger man. You've praised me for becoming the adult I am. That could never have happened without her. What? Are you listening? George! Just let your mother handle this for now. Cool your head and think very carefully. Shannon isn't the only person interested in you, right? Ayumi-san, for that marriage meeting really took a liking to you. First I've heard of it. I thought you knew. Her parents were also very impressed by you. If you really dream to build your own castle, like your father, Ayumi-san is the one who'd really be able to help you, right? Do you intend to betray her feelings? There's nothing to betray. There was never any special relationship between Ayumi-san and me. We just had a marriage meeting, and her parents got all fired up afterwards. You made us go out several times, but we never even looked at each other. Ayumi-san is a well-bred, modest woman, isn't she? She just couldn't look at you because you're a man, and it would be embarrassing and ill-mannered. If you can't feel anything from her unless she looks at your eyes, then just tell her that. I'm sure she'll look at you in the future. You want me to marry Ayumi-san because it will benefit you. You aren't pushing that engagement for the sake of anyone but yourself. George, how can you say that? Have I ever failed to think about what's best for you? I haven't, have I? What is a parent's job? It's to look after the long-term welfare of their children, right? We've been looking down upon your entire future from a great height. And from our vantage point, we can see that you're letting your momentary youthful emotions lead you down the wrong path. That's why I'm saying this, even though I know you'll hate me for it. If I didn't care for you, we wouldn't be having this fight. I'd just tell you to marry whatever strange girl you like and leave you be. You hear me, George? Leave this to your mother. There's no need for you to meet with Shannon-chan anymore. We'll take care of everything for you. Don't worry. We won't do anything bad to Shannon-chan. After all, it's thanks to her that you've grown so much. We won't forget that. So leave the rest to us. George. Sometime during Eva's rage, tears had started to drip from her eyes. As though those tears had caused him to hesitate, George turned his back and sagged his shoulders. Even George is a child of man, after all, though he understands that marriage requires nothing more than the love of two people. He can't get over his desire for his parents' acceptance. And so, he is trapped between the tears of the mother who has always helped him and the fiancée he chose. Where is he? Okay. I think that's about enough. Huh? All my life, you've done a great job raising me, and I'm grateful for that. When I have children and become a parent, I'll become a parent like you. I'll be the kind of parent most worthy of respect in the entire world, one who can truly fight for his children's sake. George. With his back still towards her, George threw away his umbrella and slowly stepped out from beneath the eaves into the rain. Then, he slowly turned around. It was, without a doubt, the familiar face of Eva's beloved son. However, he was now his own man, self-controlled and independent enough that their blood connection might be forgotten. I think it's about time. For what? I think it's about time you learn to let go of your son, Mother. From now on, let's stop talking as mother and son. I am George. You are Eva. Let's forget that you're my parent. Let our true intentions ring clear. The reason you want to choose the person I marry is for financial reasons, public appearances, and so that you can look good in that continuing quarrel between you and your siblings. You have no other reason. You do well to just give up and admit it now. I'm about to share my point of view with you. I suggest you do the same. After all, you will lose. No traces of love or respect for his mother remained in George's eyes. There was only a frigid glare as he glared ruthlessly down at the witch who was trying to bind his future. George, why are you looking at your mother like that? Because I'm not looking at my mother. All I see is a wall, a trial, that's standing in the way of the future I'm trying to grasp. You're only human. I know that you have dreams and ambitions, and that you're still chasing after those. And I think that's a wonderful thing. We also know how hard it is for a person to chase their dreams without giving up. So I'll need to inherit your wonderful strength. I've learned a lot from my parents, my friends, and Sayo, and I've grown. And the last thing I've learned, acquired, and perfected is the real Ushiromiya George. Now I'll overcome the final barrier. You. What? Eva had disappeared. The pouring rain landed evenly across the ground everywhere. No, it was blocked very slightly in one place. However, there was no one there. Standing on the ground isn't the only way to block the path of the rain. Then, could it be? Sure, it's good for people to let the true feelings show every once in a while. I'll speak my mind too. So why don't you just lay it all out as well? In the rain-filled sky, with a moon that shouldn't have been visible behind her, was the Golden Witch of the future who had finally obtained everything of the Ushiromiya family. Even the drastic change in his mother's appearance didn't faze George. On the contrary, he seemed to be moved by her boldness, because his mother had honestly and truly displayed her true nature. This way, I can confidently show her my true self. Here we go, Mother. Here we go, Eva. This is my first step towards escaping from your shackles. First step? With that first step, he felt something odd beneath his feet. He knew that the sticky sensation, different from that of mud, represented his mother's arrogance trying to prevent him from making that first step. I used to read you all the time when you were little, didn't I? Do you remember your favorite story, Journey to the West? That takes me back. That's probably the first fantasy I really loved. Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, wanted to become a god and was tested by Buddha. If you can jump free from the palm of my hand, I will acknowledge your wish. Then, Sun Wukong managed to reach what he thought was the end of the world, and found 5 pillars standing there, only to discover that they were Buddha's fingers, and that he still hadn't left Buddha's hand. And you're likening this to my first step, me declaring my intention to break free from you? Your resistance, your conflict, your anguish and self-restraint, and everything else. All of it is a road I once traveled down. This first step of yours is so trivial that when compared to my life, it'd just get gobbled up. How long are you gonna look away? If only you'd just look at your feet. At George's feet, on the pitch-black earth soaked by the pounding rain, was what appeared to be a slightly red sash that glowed ominously and blocked George's first step. It was deep, viscous, and it held George's foot in place. From Eva's perspective, as she gazed down from the sky, it looked like a vast red spiderweb that radiated out with George at the center. That's right. This is me. This is me being tied down by the countless studies, and raised for the sake of your ambitions. No, that's not it. Let me put it so you can understand. I'll show you. And then you'll realize the truth. The vast red spiderweb on the ground scooped up George as easily as scooping scum out of a pot. Then it lifted him into the air like a deer caught in a net and swung him about. Laughing insanely, Eva was as innocent and cruel as a grade schooler happily swinging about a bag filled with her gym clothes. Come on. Try to remember, okay? What happened on Tuesdays? I remember. That was piano lessons. I still cringe whenever I hear I stepped on the cat. You did violin in kindergarten. That's the sort of instrument you'd expect smart kids to play, right? But you didn't seem to have the talent. So we switched you over to piano. Then, do you remember what you did on Wednesdays? I remember. That was the day I had cram school. It was so far away and a real pain to have to travel to. And Thursdays? That was the day for supplemental lessons. You were just terrible at subjects with memorization, weren't you? You could apply your knowledge, but were horrible at learning by rote. A classic, he can do it if he tries, kid. That one stung. Those are the most annoying words a kid can hear at a parent-teacher conference. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. That's a British euphemism, isn't it? Making you get and stay motivated was the hardest thing to do. George was bound hand and foot by the bright wood spiral, reduced to the witch's plaything. She innocently swung him around and smashed him about, all with an insane laugh, again and again. Do you remember what you did on Fridays? Of course. As far as after-school lessons go, that one was pretty unique. A school you go to with your parents can be trying in more ways than one. Don't buy your child a fishing rod. Go fishing with him. You certainly like British education theory, don't you, Mother? That school was hard on his parents, too. But for you, it was the most effective one. The monthly fee was high, and it was a pain to have to spend Friday nights there every week. But it did more for you than anything else. That's when I realized. Kids don't grow unless their parents watch over them. If children are sprouts, then parents are the sun. No plants would bud, and no flowers will bloom without the sun. Still bound hand and foot, George was thrown, slammed, and smashed. He could do nothing. He was still like Sun Wukong, unable to leave the palm of his mother's hand. However, since he wouldn't surrender, he could still show resistance at any time. And what about Saturdays, huh? That's when the tutor came. He came to our house, which made it much easier, right? It was a pain having to invite some other person into my own private room every week. I hated the smell of sweat left behind when he left, so much that I can still remember it. He was a wonderful teacher who drilled a scholarly attitude into you. His monthly fees were on par with a lawyer's consultation fee, and it was well worth it. Then, on Sundays and Mondays that followed, I didn't have any extra school and could finally rest. How ironic. Have those extra classes from Tuesday and Saturday held me down all this time. I really am just like Sun Wukong. Yeah, if you're arrogant enough to think you can escape from the palm of my hand, you'll be crushed by Buddha's 5 mountains. Sun Wukong, who wanted to become a god, was crushed by the 5 mountains of fire, water, wood, metal, and earth, and sealed away. These are the 5 elements that the day of the week, Tuesday through Saturday, are named after in Japanese. Only now did George, who had always admired Sun Wukong, recognize this greatest of ironies. Just like Sun Wukong, you need to reflect upon and be punished for your arrogance. If you can show that you're willing to reform yourself, I'll release you. That's not being released. It's brainwashing. There's no need to think about anything. Why not just leave everything to Mama? I'll decide everything for you. That's the best kind of life for you. I found the most intellectual woman in the world, willing to devote herself to you entirely. I'll arrange for all of your successes, and even prepare the roads leading to them. And eventually, you'll be chosen for the highest honor in the Ushimiya family, the position as successor to the headship. Only then will you begin your true life. A first step? Don't make me laugh. You still haven't been born yet. This isn't my web that you're caught in. You're still inside my caring, nurturing womb. George was slammed against the ground, over and over. It was a heartless atrocity, unlike anything would expect a blood-related son to receive. However, in Eva's eyes, perhaps even this was a sign of love for her precious son. The human-shaped lump of flesh wrapped in the red bag was slammed over and over, then thrown high into the air, where it was caught in a massive spiderweb in the sky, still covered with fresh blood. While he hung there as though crucified, George didn't even twitch, even if he had some power to resist remaining to him. The red webbing pinning him there would have held even that in check. The rain, which had been falling non-stop since the beginning, quietly tormented and pitied George. Be sealed by the 5 mountains and cool your head. I'm not telling you to stop because I think Shannon-chan's a bad kid, okay? She's a great girl, the one who gave you the chance you needed to grow up. However, I now consider engagement as a different matter entirely. The issue has nothing to do with some failing on her part. Understand that. Blame the problem, not the peer. Right? That's another British saying. I really did raise you to be a smart kid. No, I am raising you. You're still inside me, right? You need to be nurtured a little longer. Okay, that's enough punishment, so apologize to your mother. The spiderweb released George reluctantly. Then it threw him to the ground beneath the cloudy sky. Thank you, Mother. It was all George could do to get up on his hands and knees. Though he wiped the mud away and stood his ground, he still couldn't raise his head. Everything you've done so far, you've done for me, haven't you? Thank you. Thanks for everything. That's right. You must hate me now, but one day you'll thank me. I'm sure you'll understand how much I loved you. Being bound by all those extra classes from Tuesday until Saturday, that's a sign of how hard you worked to raise me to be an excellent man. That's another British phrase. To cover a child in blessings is the greatest education of all. thank you. In return, I'll give you a British saying. What's that? Even if you strike all the trees in the forest once with an axe, you will not fell a single tree. Hmm? And what does that mean? Maybe this one is clearer. To spend too much time in studies is sloth. Francis Bacon. The man, drenched in mud and blood, straightened his crooked glasses and slowly stood up. Though he was covered in filth, his appearance had a divine quality to it. Something that could only appear on a self-controlled man, not one who had merely been dozing in his mother's amniotic fluid. I cannot count the number of things I've learned from Sayo. She taught me courage and chivalry, how to be ambitious and witty and humorous and just a little stylish. It's ironic. Almost all the things you say are so wonderful about me didn't come from you at all. George, are you still... Time to get back in Mother's womb. I'll nurture you in a sea of warmth once more. As Eva howled, a bright red spiderweb appeared at George's feet once more and tried to scoop him up into the air again. However, at that instant, a powerful magic circle could be seen in the area surrounding George for just a moment. Faster than he could be scooped up by the spiderweb, George jumped, and with a sharp kick to the heel and a magnificent forward flip, he cut the shackles of that spiderweb apart. Shinjaryoken. What? That smooth movement proved that he had possessed the power to escape from these shackles all along. He had willingly allowed himself to be bound by that web. Everything I owe you for what you've done, I've paid back now with pain. Thanks to that, I think I'll finally be able to leave the nest for good. You really do need these, every now and then. Fights between parents and kids. George! Why must you disobey me so completely? I was a little girl like that! It looks like you really do need to let go, Mother. Maybe it's about time. It's time for what? It's about time. It's time to start fighting back. The curtain of spiderwebs that Eva shot out in defense were all too slow. George weaved through them in one instant, and the next, he was right before her eyes. I'll leave that one stand for itself. Eva has a good voice actor. Eva jumped out of the way of a kick that would have knocked her feet out from under her, then blocked the second half of George's double roundhouse with a high kick of her own. I guess there's one thing I can't thank you for teaching me. Oh, and what day of the week was that? It's the martial arts training we focus on during long breaks from school. I'm glad, George, to hear you're grateful for at least one thing. Your mother is happy. It's a hard one to imitate. Eva's swift feet flashed like lightning. Low, 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 mid-level attack. As George's head fell forward, she caught it in both hands as though she was about to smash it against the ground. It was then met with Eva's knee as it rose like a bolt of lightning from the earth. You should have learned Muay Thai too. It would have been more fun to have learned it with you. You're right. I never had more fun than when I was learning martial arts with you. And right now is when you get to have the most fun. Isn't it fun, George? Isn't it? Is it fun to play with your son like this, Mother? Yes, it is. You're my precious son, and I'll love you lots and lots inside my womb. I even love it when you kick in there. Understood. But this is coming from the outside of your belly. Bit of a weird conversation, but yeah. George's knee buried itself into Eva's abdomen. An instant before she felt the pain of that fierce attack. Eva watched her son kick with a proud smile, and then vomited. You're getting on in years, Mother. Maybe it's about time you held back on wearing childish clothes like that. George! Her chin still covered in vomit, Eva looked up at George in twisted anguish. She could see how pathetic her face was by her reflection in his glasses. Both you and I need to leave our childhood days behind. So long, Mother. The fierce lightning and rain made time freeze. George's beautiful kick had stopped an inch from Eva's chest. However, the power of the red magic circle surrounding George had already pierced Eva's body. Though he had stopped without hitting her, blood poured out of Eva's back. No wound had been left on her chest, but her heart had been punched through. Eva slumped backwards and landed in a puddle with a splash. There were no convulsions. Her life had been ended without leaving her an instant to writhe about in pain. I know you're somewhere over there. Cap. He shouldn't... Oh yeah, you met them at the, thing. As he straightened his glasses, George spoke to the rose thicket behind him. Then, a pitch-black hole opened in the air there, and Gap jumped out. Impressive. Even considering that it was before her ascension. I can't believe you managed to defeat Eva Beatrice. I thought you'd be there. Thanks for not interfering. I'm glad we were able to keep it between mother and son. But of course, I wasn't here. You summoned me just now. It doesn't matter either way. I have something to ask of you. Is there any reason I should listen? Will you refuse to listen? With his back still facing her, George reset his glasses. The threat in his voice held the solemn presence of a king who could control demons. That presence made Gap gulp. Then she licked her lips before bowing respectfully to his back. I like hot guys, but I like monarchs even more. Your wish is my command, O Demon King. I want you to lay her body to rest in a place fitting for a woman who admired the head of the Ushimiya family, and who lived her life with the misguided dreams of that position. So, in Kinzo's study? No. The VIP room will do fine. That never-opened VIP room on the second floor of the mansion. Ah, that room. As you wish, Your Majesty. Gap approached Eva's corpse and lightly tapped the ground with her right heel. When she did, a large hole opened up, swallowed both Gap and the corpse, and closed. After a while, a small hole opened in the air, and the staff Eva always carried, marked with a one-winged eagle that symbolized the Ushimiya family's leader, was spat out into a puddle, because the corpse would no longer have any use for it. George slowly approached that staff, and stepped down hard on the tip. When he did, the staff spun violently into the air, and after passing by the blue moon that honored the Demon King, It flew into George's outstretched hand. The instant he grasped it, another fierce lightning bolt landed nearby, and by the time the flash disappeared, the staff he held had become a spray of gold butterflies and vanished. It was as though George had crushed the staff out of existence. And now, I've finished my part. I'll let someone else have a turn. I can't believe you attacked your own mother. It's the person who loved you first in this world, and the last one you have to separate yourself from. That's what it means to leave your home. This is the courage I need to show to take Sayo as my wife. George-sama. Bravo, Ushimiya George. An excellent start. Even though it was just within the game, even though it was just a piece, I didn't like having to kill my mother. However, that was the trial you set me, so I saw it through. He stared at the two demons. They are demons, okay. The demons looked at each other, then showed their surprise with their now familiar, exaggerated gestures. Wonderful! Furfur, and Zepar. Wasn't that splendid, Zepar? Indeed it was, Furfur. And George Kun's determination is the real deal. It seems I've misjudged you. Please accept my apologies. How do you misjudge George? He blatantly says this every time he can. George chose not to go along with this theatrical conversation. He just quietly looked down upon the game board, found the piece representing his mother, which was right next to his, and tipped it over. This was the trial that Zepar and Furfur had set for him, so that the love of the pair will stand true. Offer up the life of one person by your own hands. It was similar to that trial during Beato's games, where they were given 3 options as part of a test to select the next family head. However, a pair of lovers will never abandon each other's lives, so they were automatically left with the option of sacrificing the life of another instead. In fact, it was merciful that they only had to choose the life of one person other than themselves, instead of all. And besides, it only meant taking those lives as pieces on the board. For the versions of themselves to whom the game board was the only world, this was a tragic parricide. But to those who stood around the game board in this witch's smoking room, it was nothing more than a movement of the pieces representing George's will to overcome his parents. However, the fact remained that the demons had ordered them to take these lives, even if it was just within one of the endless fragment worlds. George appeared to have distanced himself from the events on the demon's game board, but Jessica still seemed to resist the idea of stealing another person's life, even if it was only their life as a piece on the game board. Have you been scared stiff? No. The Beatrice that Butler-san desires would not be shaken by the likes of this. Well then, who will go undergo the next trial? Please choose the next victim. It doesn't matter who. Please name the next challenger. Any one of you may go. If no one speaks up, that means I win, doesn't it? Yes, that's right. If so, congratulations, Ushimiya George. The key that leads to successful love between you and the one you cherish will be now proudly grant... hold it right there. As the demons delightedly named George as the victor, they were interrupted by the next challenger. Jessica-san, I'm up next. Okay, I'll do it. I'll show you that I'm serious about Canon-kun. Umineko no Naku Koro Nichiro, Nocturne of Truth and Illusions. Alright, so, a couple things about that last thing. But George just killed his mother in style with British sayings. Not bad, Game Master Battler. Indeed, that was a fair amount of style. And though not necessarily the killing aspect, I do stand on George's side for separating and standing on your own. I see things like what Eva just was going through as that's not love, that's obsession. True love is letting, at least in my opinion, my viewpoints, my beliefs, love is not forced onto people. Love is when it's given back freely. You give somebody love, like Eva to George, that's the top of the head example, giving him education, giving him schooling, because that's what she believes love to be. Fair enough. But then not letting him live his own life, that's where it stops being love. My parents did some extracurricular type stuff as well. I was in a private school for a while. It was the most they could afford at the time, and I actually fell out because it got too expensive. But they tried to give me the best education they could give me. They tried to push me into doing things I didn't really want to do, but ended up doing good at. So it's not that just let a kid do whatever. The parent's job is to guide them, push them through some of the weeds that they may find themselves in, but lead to a better path down the road. But don't force them into this direction because you want them to. That's where it falls apart. I see a lot of people having trouble with that concept. But it is a bit of a balance. So, but yeah, it's just, I see a relationship like Eva and George as an obsession, and the proper response is what George went through. Severing ties, and her life too, I guess, but I wouldn't push it that far in real life. But if they are controlling your life, you aren't actually living. You're living what they want you to live. You're not living what you want you to live. It's, I have some strong feelings on that kind of a matter. And for love, George, I think, did actually love his mother. I had pretty good marks in school, yeah. Later on in school, junior, senior in high school, my grades took a plummet because I stopped caring. But yeah, it's back to the private school. The private school was like a grade above what we were actually at, and so when I shifted over to the public school, I just redid the same level and got good grades. So it was kind of easy that's in that sense. Yeah, public schooling in America is really poor, just across the board. So yeah, but I got good marks in school. Yeah, I was a good student. Yeah, I could pick a lot of things up. What was it? Trying to remember my old classes now. It was pretty straightforward with all the stuff I did. Good grades. I don't mean to brag, but I didn't really have any poor subject. It may have been probably English or literature or whatever the classes were. Not necessarily the reading or the writing, but just having to write essays after essays that I didn't care about. That kind of thing. New. Yeah, it's the way essays were taught to me, I wholeheartedly disagree with. It's an entire waste of time because the way I was taught to write an essay throughout my entire scholarly life, career, whatever, you have a opening paragraph that summarizes the entire essay. What you're going to talk about, why you should talk about it, and what your conclusions are about it. So you have a paragraph that is the entirety of your essay, and then the rest of your essay, supporting paragraph 1, supporting paragraph 2, etc., conclusion paragraph. That is how we were taught to write an essay. Everybody put filler into every essay. Flat out. My opinion is this. This happens to be my opinion. My opinion is this because of this. This proves my opinion. Therefore, that is my opinion. Repeat, 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 repeat. Geography, I was okay with our geography. We have nothing foreign in America for geography classes. Like literally any geography class happens to be either like America and the 50 states or overall generic global things like China, Europe, and that's kind of it. Like we don't have any foreign education like whatsoever. It's honestly kind of weird, but we have students who have trouble just keeping track of our own country. We had American history, or U.S. geography, or one or the other, and it was name all 50 states. Not everybody could do that. Name all 50 states and cities. Less people could do that. So yeah, geography just was not a class. It isn't even really taught. The only thing we have close to it is just American history that starts from when we were founded and through like every 10 years or so. The colonial wars, the Civil War, the Great Depression, the 60s, 70s, current presidential, whatever from the textbook we were using, stuff like that. The wars, they spend a decent amount of time on those ones, but again, nothing specific, really. I want to say that's in Brazil, but I don't know that because of school. I know that from like TVs and like video games that mention it. None of my foreign education came from a school, like period, other than like the continental landmasses. Africa, yeah. See, it's like I said, that education does not. I want to say also Morocco is a city, but I don't know if that's right or not. Yeah, Africa is the place that is straight up least known about in America. We know some stuff about Europe because we're pretty familiar with that stuff. Okay, and I know Brazil is at least in South America. I want to say, yeah. Um, it's a country. Morocco's another country. All right, but yeah, it's you give me random names and places and dates, I would not be able to point them out to you unless I would just scan the map. Um, which would be I don't know. I found it, not I know it. But yeah, American education system focus on America first and foremost. Number one, that is what we learn about. Second, we learn about is probably Europe because of like Shakespeare and English and things of that nature. Maybe even like the Napoleon, stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's that place right above India and like maybe next to China too. I think, right? from Kappa. Interesting. But yeah, it's yeah, like basically anything east of Germany um is ignored. I'm sorry, but that is not taught in America. Um, Anything south of Europe is just Africa. Australia is that one continent off to the side. Mexico is the place where people speak Spanish, and Canada is that place above us where people have maple syrup and say A a lot. That's the generic understanding of most foreign countries. The one exception being Japan, because it's Japan, and people know about that because of hobbies. Yes, but Russia's like spans that whole not not India. I'm thinking the wrong spot. But yeah, Russia is that big, gigantic landmass that actually is a lot smaller on a map than it actually is because the Earth is round. But again, like I said, my geography is non-existent. But I got a map. Was it India, China? Okay. Oh, that's what it was. I didn't mean India. I meant the countries by Europe. I can't remember the names. But yeah, um, one of the things I remember is something on the internet. I got a map up there that I'm referencing. That Russia is there's one country connected between something like Finland and China, and it's Russia. It goes like all the way across the entire continent and whatnot. And it's huge, hard to miss. And yeah, that was the easiest one to color on those maps they give us occasionally. Like when you're a little kid, the big old world map with stuff that you don't really pay attention to, and you've got this big old blob. I'm gonna color that one green. That's about it. Yeah, American education system kind of sucks. Don't depend on it. And again, it's also kind of one of the reasons why I focus on holy cow, I really jabbered on here. Trying to pursue things that interest you. Yeah, it's like that. You can go from Finland to China just straight through Russia. Well, not straight, but yeah, whatever. Um, which is kind of an obscene statement, but it's a factual one. So, yeah. But yeah, it's I like trying to suggest people go for what they are interested in and pursue things they find interesting. Like for me, it was sewing and sculpting, and currently it's crocheting and voice acting with streaming. And people will find a reason to do what they want to do. They will struggle to find a reason to do something they don't want to do. No, they're about that far apart. 2.5 miles apart. Oh yeah, because of Alaska, the stupid little bit on the top that extends is right next to it. Or is that no? It's a bit on the top. That's what it is. Yeah, there's even actually some theories. Again, not from school, but from TV. I've learned that there's even theories that the original people who came to America came from Asia, because the sea at that point wasn't at that level. It was like you could walk from Russia to Alaska, and so people did that, and then the sea rose, or the islands drifted apart, or whatever it happened to have been, and so they couldn't get back, so they just kept going. And that's how the natives of America were originally believed to originated from. And it seems a lot of people believe that humans originated in Africa and like spread out the country, and then like towards Russia, towards America, down around, and then Australia being main exception was the Aborigines that no one quite knows. I don't know a lot, but my understanding is not many people know about them because they are a unique case. They are completely separated from everything. So they had to have been there when the continent was first created. I don't know. But it is interesting, history and stuff like that, trying to piece together all the pieces like some big old mystery novel. Technically with less murder, but also technically with significantly, unbelievably more amounts of murder. They had boats. Mm. Well, what are you talking about? The Aborigines or Africans or Asians or Native Americans? Yes, most countries, most indigenous people did have boats at a time. I think it was. Yeah, I read a fact the other day. The Aborigines are actually one of the only. Um, I think it's them. The only civilizations that never um, individually developed a bow, mostly because they didn't have much greenery there. Several peoples had boats. Yes, peoples, peoples. But yeah, it's one of the other things again from like watching TV, you get more education out of that than most. Well, let me rephrase that. With a lot of the schoolings, you get reading and math, um, and some histories. It varies and whatnot, but those are some of the basics you get in education, and those are incredibly valuable. Aside from that, most of the useful information and education you get comes from entertainment type things. YouTube, Wikipedia, TV, games, stories, all that jazz. Like all these British sayings that they kept popping out here. I heard some of them, but not most of them actually. Like, hit every tree with a single chop of the axe and you still won't cut down the forest. That's one I have never heard before actually. So it's interesting finding new stuff. But yeah, this is I don't think I'm going to be reading much more on Umineko in the next 5 minutes, unless you can find a good stopping spot that's different than this. That's going to happen, and no, we just went through a stopping spot. So I'm going to jibber jabber about random shit now. Teaching yourself and never stopping to learn is the most important thing. Yeah, it's teaching yourself is very important. I'm struggling with bits of it. I can teach bits of things to myself, but I work so much better with another person. It's like you were kind of the mentor for my German. Um, I could sit here and struggle and try the books and do it on my own, but all those little comments, it's this way, not that way. You forgot this here. It's pronounced this way. Those are all those stupid little questions I would have trouble trying to figure out and point out to myself because one, I would first have to notice that I did it wrong in the first place. Two, I would then have to know the answer to figure out what it is. So all those little comments, they help a lot. And you keep pointing them out and it helps stick them in my head. So again, thank you for that. But yeah, and one of the things I think a slight different take on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a slight little take on teaching yourself. Not necessarily teaching yourself, but knowing where to go to be able to learn things is important. Well, how to find where to learn things. Because just about anybody can pick up a book and try and learn how to read it and try and learn what it tells you to. But being able to know how to find a thing to further yourself is, I think, a bit more important. I don't know. They're a bit even in my head. The it's the difference between like wisdom and intellect. I believe I prefer the using gaming terms and whatnot. Um, I actually haven't done anything with it. I keep bringing it with me to work, but I never take a break on. Um, uh, I actually haven't had a lunch at work yet. It's short enough that I can skip it, but okay, I'll bring it, do it at lunch, and never get to it because I'm busy doing everything else. I've been meaning to. I bring it with me to work. I'm gonna do it. I didn't do it, but I'm gonna do it. So I want to do more of it. You know, I had kind of another plan for Monday. Monday will either be crocheting or something else. The Bob Ross painting. Not sure which one to go with. I want to try and do one of those one day. Beato is my Russian sensei. Yes, sensei. I follow age. Oh, cool, thanks. Thanks, man. Quack, a virus. Well, maybe I shouldn't be so thankful to thank a virus for following me. But yeah, I've got my crochet right here. It's right there. It's always with me, but I never actually get to it. But anyway, thank you, man, for the follow. Unfortunately, right now is about the time I actually close down for the day, because stuff. But that's my normal schedule for now. And today is Thursday, so yeah, tomorrow we'll have one more episode of Umineko. And I think we're actually getting to the end of Phoenix Wright for next bit. I'm actually looking forward to the end of Phoenix Wright, because then we can pull out the Danganronpa and go with that. Something a bit new for that, because I'm curious as to how it goes. I also don't know how much voice acting is in there, so I don't know how much I would be voicing versus not. But that's a question for another day. We'll figure that out at another time. Hello? Okay, that was weird. Alright. Is Eva Beatrice on here? Just a odd little question. Nope. Nope. They're all different. Alright, but Erica and Dolores, huh? But yeah, that'll be it for today, Umineko. We'll figure out something else tomorrow. I have a feeling that these tests are a bit more important than just a fictional test. I think there's some literal meaning behind some of this. Namely, George killed Eva's heart, or something like that. Anyway, see you later, guys. Have fun, take care. Eat lots of vitamin C, drink water, all that jazz. Take care of yourselves. See you later.